and welcome to the Rundlett and Baldacci Report. This is a follow-up to our last show where we have the same guests with us today, David Jones and Ethan Strimling, where we're going to discuss what happened during the election. Well, one of us, with respect to the president, had exactly right. In fact, within 1 point of the electoral vote count. We're with him today to congratulate you, David, on your victory, both in terms of guessing it and also your candidate becoming president-elect of the United States. I want to open with one question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The one thing that he has said, one of the issue that was very important to me were the wars. I know the economy was big for people on the border, but the wars were very important to me.
Sure.
He says, you said on at least 2 occasions, if he had been president, they wouldn't have even be going on. And now he says that he can take care of them in 1 day. Do you have any idea what plans he has to do that?
I don't have any idea other than, they respect Donald Trump. And they know that if he says, get over it, they better get over it, or else he'll bring the wrath of Khan down on them.
And what would that be?
Peace through strength works. So he's dealing with the hostages in Iran.
Right.
Right. And he's telling them, I want them out.
Gaza, yeah.
Right. If they're not out, then, I'm sorry, there's a price to pay. He's been in talks with Putin, and he's told him, look, this has to stop. Now, you got Biden poking the bear here and, giving all kinds of ammunition to Ukraine and launching American bombs towards the Russians, which I don't think is a very good strategy.
I wasn't pleased with that.
No, I don't know anybody that would be. Trump's anti-war type of president. He doesn't want war, but he does believe in peace through strength. So I think that, the world, when Donald Trump won that election, they said, oh, okay, let's step back and reassess everything that we're doing. He threatened to put the tariffs on Mexico to stop the influx of people across the border. He threatened.
And the first thing, what is it? Trudeau does is
comes
fly
flying down, hat in hand, saying, and he says, "Look, he goes, no problem. Look, if you guys can't make your country work without bilking the American public for $100 billion a year or more,"
right.
He says
time out. We're here to talk about the election,
right, yeah.
number one.
Yeah.
And let's focus on the election.
Okay.
And then if we want to get into what he's going to do, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
But nice to see you this month, and nice to have Ethan and David back in the studio again. But and congratulations, Dave. Your projection on the Electoral College was...
I left Maine out of my calculation.
All right, but there are other races that you also predicted that didn't quite turn out the way... And I'd like Ethan to kind of recap where we were with some of the predictions, and then we can talk about, Trump is claiming this is a mandate? It really isn't a mandate.
He won the popular vote. He won the House. He won the Senate.
This is the smallest margin
Look,
since
if you win
Herbert
by
Hoover.
one, you win.
I agree.
Okay,
I agree.
So
Ethan,
shred that.
Give me your perspective on the election and the predictions and.
Yeah, I mean, look, Dave is right, and I say this all the time to Democrats. When you win an election, consider it a mandate and govern from there. And I don't have any, animosity towards somebody who wins an election to trying to create the cabinet they want. And the resistance has a job to resist that cabinet, and that's fine. And Democrats should do that, and the Senate should do its due diligence. It was obviously, a little unfortunate that Trump immediately came out and said, I want to go around the U.S. Senate. I want you to allow my appointments to happen without them doing their due diligence. Not unconstitutional, but certainly unprecedented. The recess appointments, certainly unprecedented to start your administration saying, I'm going to disregard, I don't want the Senate to even look at these candidates, and that tells you something about who they are. But
it's kind of like what the Democrats did.
But Trump won his election, and Trump has the ability to say, I want to put these people in office, and the Senate should do their due diligence around that. So, Dave did a remarkably good prediction on the Donald Trump race, right down to the electoral count, just one off, and I commend him for that. As you said, though, there were a few other predictions that we had. And
let's talk about that.
Let's talk about all the races. We talked,
I know Rob doesn't like talking about Trump. So
we'll give Trump his due. But here's the problem. But here's the problem, Dave. Is you just went down the line and just gave all the Republican. It was going to be Republican across the board, and of course that didn't happen. The legislature stayed Democratic. I predicted that the legislature was going
in the state of Maine.
In the state of Maine, I predicted that the legislature would get tighter. I was willing to say Republicans would make gains, but they didn't take it over and didn't make, in the Senate, barely moved at all, but definitely moved in the House.
Right.
Austin Terrio obviously did not win his race. He's not going to win his race.
Well, they're
Shelley
doing a
Pingree
recount, so you can't say that until it's over, right? They're doing a recount.
You think the recount's going to change
It's really
anything?
close. There was 2,700 votes between
See,
the
Dave,
two
you
of them.
can't. I just congratulated you, and instead of just saying, "Yeah, congratulations on those picks," you're just trying to contest the fact that Austin Terrio may actually win.
You're wrong. No,
Come on.
I
27 votes.
When I do this with most Republicans, they're at least willing to say, "Hey, you know what? I got that one wrong."
Less than 5 minutes in, and we're
I know.
having.
He can't. He's like
that
Trump.
You were
He
right on
can't
the state races.
concede.
You concede. Yeah.
You don't have to make a phone call. You just got to say
But the bottom line
congratulations.
is that the bottom line is Austin Terrio hasn't lost yet.
Yes,
He's
he
lost
has.
to ranked
He's trying
choice
to-
voting, and now we're doing
He's
a
on
recode.
appeal.
Now there's 12,500 questionable ballots, right? That are
Well, there's
that are being-
12,500 blank ballots.
Yeah, exactly. And they're
That's
trying
not
to see if there's a
questionable.
voter intent there.
Sure.
So, yeah, and if there's voter intent, then he could very well still win. So there's a reason they're doing a recount, not just
Yeah,
because he wants to,
I'm fine
but
with
they
that.
really should.
Okay,
It was
moving
a very,
on.
very close.
But we were right on Shelley Pingree.
I know.
Of course,
Oh, come on.
David backed out of that
That's the thing.
one.
He wouldn't even predict that Shelley Pingree would
Yeah.
win because you got too much personal. You got to be willing if you're going to be an analyst.
Angus King
I've
is
been an
another.
analyst now for 10 years, 12 years,
Well, I don't-
15 years. You got to be willing to step outside of your party every once in a
Look,
while. And say,
I
hey, look,
think you carry the torch.
you
till
couldn't even
it's
predict
over. I'm
that
not gonna
Angus King was going to win.
I know.
It was so pathetic.
Angus.
I mean, it was just like, come on, man. Just
Who
give us
dares
a
to
break.
run against
Well,
Angus King?
if you
Come on.
remember, Ethan, when you asked me about Demi, I said, look, and you said,
You did. She's a
right,
friend.
Right, she's a friend of mine, and I respect her. I respect anybody who runs for public
Yeah,
office.
but Russell-
Being honest with the viewers is not.
Another great guy, and another great American. He's not a real friend. I know him, and
Right.
we become an acquaintance. He lives right next door to one of my closest friends, in Kenny Bunkport. So yeah, I mean, I don't like preaching bad tidings to someone prior to, but I didn't sit there and say they were going to win. And, so you were 100% right on the
Just this
house.
hemming and hawing and hedging and all this kind of stuff.
But I think
Look,
the one that really matters to me, is that President Donald J. Trump.
well, of
won
course that's the
race,
one that
okay?
matters to you because that's the one you got right.
No,
the
well, that's
only
the
one
one.
you
That's
got
the
right.
one.
It's a big one, though.
That's good,
Big.
It's a big one.
No, I'll take that one.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
It's true. Honestly,
I'll
I would have
take
taken
it.
Kamala Harris and lost all the rest
There you go.
and felt pretty good about it.
David, are you going to
Exactly.
D.C.?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he
we're going
is.
to be broadcasting there from the.
At the
Well,
inaugural.
what I meant was, are you going to go to D.C.? Oh,
No.
to work, come on.
No.
I asked
Cabinet post.
him the same question.
Did you?
No,
Oh
I'm just
yeah.
a guy who sells real estate here in Maine.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first thing that
that's
came to
why
my
I'm gonna
mind.
Keep it, but I have no interest in being down in Washington D.C.
Oh.
It would, no part of that, would.
Can I take your place? Because I'd love to work down there. I
Yeah.
wanted to work for Sarah Gideon when she
Oh, really?
got elected.
Well, she didn't get anywhere, did she?
I'm still here.
But look, D.C. isn't attractive to me at all. I do care a lot about the state of Maine, and it is unfortunate that we didn't make more gains than what we did, and we didn't take over the House. But look, it's like if at first you don't succeed, try again, right? And we're not going to stop. And I think I talked about it today on Ray's show that I think our messaging, we got to really think about it. Why aren't we reaching people? Why aren't we getting voter participation at the rate that we are?
You mean in Maine?
In Maine, yeah.
Yeah.
Maine's a beautiful state, and there's things here that are just crazy. How Janet Mills spent $50,000 on man bras today. I mean,
On what? Whoa.
Man bras
What?
for men that breastfeed. It's in the newspaper. It's all over the news today.
What newspaper is this?
Just look at it. It's
the National
everywhere.
Enquirer.
Maine
She
Wire?
spent $50,000 of taxpayer money to buy man bras, extra large bras for men that breastfeed.
You mean men breastfeed?
Okay, all right, Dave.
Go there.
God help. I don't know where you're reading this, but let's talk.
the strangest thing
I got a
I've ever heard.
God
question.
help Maine. You're right.
And more importantly, why that is the focus.
Yeah,
right?
I know
I
it.
mean, Maine people.
Well, it's just
Maine
wasteful
people
spending.
They need a stronger economy. They need help in a housing crisis. They need better education funding to be able to make sure our kids get educated. Our roads need to be. Our government needs to make investments in what's going on, and this is what the Republican Party focuses on, right? I mean, $50,000 is nothing in the state budget, even if it's true what he's saying, which I'm sure he's misrepresenting it, but even if it
I
were true,
bet you
that's what
Google
Republicans
it,
do such a
right?
good job
I
of
know,
focusing on.
they do.
Instead of looking at, and this is why they haven't won, I mean, the Republicans have not controlled the legislature basically for 45 years. One
One
two-year
time.
term. And that's
One
it in
time.
45 years.
When
So
was that?
when Paul LePage was
2011, 2012
Okay,
was
when
the only
LePage
time.
was- okay.
Since basically 1980, they haven't controlled the legislature. And this is because Republicans are that out of touch. They talk about things like $50,000 expenditures
You say
instead
that, but
of
I mean, the general population in the United States of America voted for Republicans.
Less than 50%.
We're talking about Maine.
Yeah.
We're not talking about
Less
we're talking
than
about
50%.
how our look, and Maine is often like this, right? When there's something that goes on nationally, Maine sort of bucks the trend around that, right? If there's a big, a sweep for Newt Gingrich, your brother wins for Congress in that same year, right?
He did.
Republicans take over, but a Democrat wins a seat that was Republican held. So I do think I think Dave was right to say Republicans have got to reflect on their messaging, right? They spend time on
That's
things
the
that people
problem.
don't
That's
care
the
about.
problem, yeah.
That's why they've been so unable to take control of the legislature.
Well,
and
How
why
was it?
Democrats keep getting
How
elected.
was it? I got a question. How
go ahead.
was it that Donald Trump, with the misogyny, with all
Right.
the baggage that he
That's my
brought
question.
to his campaign, was able to get success
I
in
say-
running for president?
I have an answer.
How did it happen? Was it a failure of the Democratic
No, I
Party?
think it was Young Turks. The Young Turks.
What do you mean, the Young Turks?
The young Republican men who had a choice. That's when they asked the pollsters, "How did you guys make such a mistake?" They failed to take into consideration the fact that Trump was advertising to those kids. Do you want
He was.
a woman to be president, or this guy that walks around with big da? And the Young Turks came out to vote strongly. Those young guns from Aroostook County,
exactly right.
hardworking guys. I'm saying this as a compliment. And I think that all the pollsters that lost, well, we didn't take into consideration. And his ads, I think that's why his ads was coming out so strong, that he was going after those guys. That's
Well, that was
He
part of it.
campaigned in places that no one ever thought he should go to. California. He was all over
Yes.
Pennsylvania.
Yes.
He was all over Georgia, North Carolina,
New York, New
Florida,
Jersey.
But so was
all
Harris.
Yeah, but he had 100,000 people in
You know that
South
rally
Jersey.
size doesn't matter.
Come
John
on.
Kerry's-
But I mean,
John
yeah,
Kerry had
it
the
didn't matter.
largest rallies in the history up to that time. 10 times as big as George Bush, and George Bush won. So we know
Right.
rally
That-
size doesn't
exactly.
matter, right? And he did campaign in all those places, and so did Kamala Harris.
Smart
but look,
move on his
when you
part.
ask the question, like, why did Democrats lose?
Yeah, please.
I think there are a couple answers. You can't discount sexism, you can't discount racism in America, you just can't.
Right.
But
Agreed.
Democrats do have to, on a national level, take a look at what it is that we were able to accomplish. And I think this is where I put the blame on conservative Democrats, right? Joe Biden was trying to put forward policies like universal pre-K, policies that would have done affordable child care for everybody, building homes across America to deal with the affordable housing crisis,
3 million
raising the minimum wage. These are policies that he was trying to put forward, but because of a couple Democrats in the U.S. Senate, didn't ever get in place. So I think people rightfully looked at Democrats and said, you've been there for 4 years, and the things that I need to make my life better, like child care, like better health care, like better education for my kids, you haven't provided.
that's the
so I'm
difference
looking.
between-
So let me finish.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm looking somewhere else. So if Democrats want to retain power, when you're an incumbent, people have to believe that you care about them and have to
Right.
believe that you're actually getting something done for them. And if you don't do enough, they're going to look elsewhere. They might even look at somebody whose values, whose morality, whose ethics are so far away from theirs, they might say to themselves, well, I just want to change.
Dave, what do you think?
That's the difference between you and me, all right?
What is it?
I'll say Republicans and Democrats, is that we don't believe the government's the answer.
Yes.
You guys think the government's the answer for everything under
Not
Part of the answer.
Yeah,
Part of it,
you replaced God, G-O-D, with G-O-V in this point in your lives. You don't believe in God. You don't believe in faith. You
No,
don't
that's-
believe in
that's a
family.
terrible
You don't
thing
have
to
to tell
say.
me what I believe.
I'm telling you, this is what the
Tell me
people.
what you
this
believe.
is what the average American feels.
Yeah.
This is why they voted for Trump. They really don't believe that you care, all right, about what they believe and what they feel. And it's not. You don't profess to people.
And yet,
all right.
Kamala Harris is a much more religious person than Donald Trump. Right?
Exactly.
Donald Trump doesn't go to church.
Right.
She does.
He sells
Right? So
Bibles
even,
made in
even just
China.
on the most basic
He does
level,
what
Joe
now?
Biden
Sells Bibles
goes to
made in China.
church, right?
Oh,
Donald Trump does.
Jesus, Trump.
Well, it does.
Better than
does.
that, all right? Come on.
forgot
You know,
about
I know you don't.
I'm
like Trump,
just-
But you got the guy did a hell of a job. That was the best run campaign in the
Oh
history
my
of
God,
politics.
David.
Best run campaign.
He ran a campaign.
He won.
But
He won.
But Dave, you can't
Yeah, I
stay
have to
One
win.
right?
big He
didn't win
we
big.
were not seeing a red wave, all right? But we saw it happen. We got the House, the Senate.
You got the House by one vote. That's how close the House is going to be.
Like you're saying, I came in, but I only came in second, Mom. You know, you
I understand. I understand.
Careful.
line is-
But Dave, you do have to be careful, even within your own party, to not say it's a wave in the sense of like
Right.
when Democrats in when Republicans in 2010, that was a wave, right? You guys picked up 50 seats. Barack
Right.
Obama said we got shellacked, right?
Yeah.
Because we did, and
Yeah.
we admitted it. And you can't now say it was a wave. Yes, you won the Senate, which everybody expected. You held the House, which most people expected. And maybe you picked up one or two more seats. But clearly, our country's divided, right? It's
still
a few
divided.
100,000 votes either way. Just like, like Billy Bob Fulkingham keeps saying up in the state house, he keeps saying 100 votes go the other way, Republicans would have had the majority. And
Okay.
he's right.
He's right.
That's how divided we are.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yes.
think saying it's a red
Same
wave
in the electoral
is,
college.
if you want to consider that a red wave, I think you're making
win's
a
a
mistake.
win.
A win is a win.
I agree.
I agree
But,
with that.
but
question
it's
is what he
still,
does with it.
It's still a divided country, David.
Yeah.
And my hope is that Trump will recognize that
I agree.
his initial focus is retribution.
But yeah, I hope he backs off.
appointments.
Is he going to back off that?
Why do you think it's retribution? Because he wants to make
Cash
he's
Patel?
hired
If he
people
goes
that
after
are not
anybody.
part of the swamp.
But if he
right?
goes
He's
after
hired
anybody,
people-
David, if he goes after anybody that this guy did this to me, I mean, don't you think that he just moves on and leaves those people alone?
You know what Trump said?
I know it.
Best retribution is success.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, okay.
But you don't go back and...
That's where his head's at. So now,
let's hope he does that.
All I'm hearing about the picks that Trump is picking is that this guy's better, this woman's no good, this one's horrible. I mean, the bottom line
But
is
they all
these
go
are his
through that.
picks. All right?
They all go
It's-
through that.
he earned the right as the president of the United States
Yes,
to
he
pick
did.
who he wants in his cabinet.
Yes, he
and
did.
he wants to make sure that that message gets carried through the Senate and that these people are all appointed. And that they get to do the job that he sat down with each and every one of them and told them he wanted them to
the
do.
Senate have the
right?
Ethan, who do you have the biggest problem with, Ethan?
Wait, I didn't
sorry.
hear Ethan's question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're right. He has a constitutional right to pick who he wants,
Yeah,
but the
of
Senate
course
has
the
a
Senate has- that's
constitutional
the process.
obligation
Right.
to reject them.
But
right?
you also got to give the guy credence,
Every administration
whoever it
has
is,
had rejected
that
bills.
they put the people up for a reason. They pick them for a reason. He's not picking straws out of a hat.
Why isn't he
Why
having the
Hegseth?
FBI do?
I like Hegseth.
Oh my God! Why isn't he doing? Why isn't he
Twilight.
putting them through FBI background checks? He's not doing that. And I think it's only going to help him.
Right. Here's what I would say about Donald Trump to give him some level of understanding of what he's doing. Right. He has said he wants outsiders in. And he's
Okay.
bringing
Which is what we
outsiders in,
want.
and I will give him. He ran that kind of campaign, and that's who he's bringing.
Right.
But
And
he's
that's the
making a
people voting
very
for it.
bad mistake, I think, because there are plenty of very qualified people who don't have the kinds of histories and backgrounds that Matt Gaetz has, that Pete Segath has, that Kash Patel has.
I
That he
agree.
could be putting in these positions that are outsiders, but he's sort of putting people in these positions to kind of, from my perspective, push the Senate to see how loyal are you going to be.
Yeah, I
and
think
he's
you're
putting
right.
people out there that could be really damaging.
The Attorney
and
General
hopefully
from
the Senate-
Florida, I think, is going to go through pretty
Pam
good.
Bondi.
She doesn't seem to have any
Fine, right?
gonna go
cats
Look,
in her
she's
bag.
somebody I totally disagree with, but is she qualified for the job?
Yes,
of
she
course.
is.
Was
She is.
Matt
Think so?
Gaetz
Yeah.
qualified
I think she's
for the
qualified.
job? Of course he wasn't qualified for the job.
No.
Never should. Pete Hegseth should not even,
Absolutely
he won't even
not.
make it through, right? He will probably withdraw before his nomination even gets taken
I
up
don't
because of
think
the
so.
revelations
You don't think
around-
so, David?
Hey, when you have your mother saying things like she said about,
Boy,
come on.
You know, it's like anything. He who has not sinned cast the first
Well,
stone.
I know, but I'm not putting myself out there as a.
Always
You-
quote the
have-
Bible.
Wait a minute.
Always
How many women
quote
have you
the
paid
Bible.
off?
Never.
Right.
right.
So don't, come on, let's not pretend that sin is sin, right?
Yeah.
He's paid off women in order to get them to be quiet. He's put under 2 organizations because of financial impropriety, spending on himself. He seems to have an alcoholism problem, right? This guy is very complicated. So in terms of his own life.
He's not Bill
I'm
Cohen.
willing to admit,
No,
like,
that's for sure.
He's not Bill Cohen.
When Democrats
Amen.
put
How
forward
do you know until
somebody,
he tries? Till you give him a shot?
Come on.
Let him see what
Well,
he does.
he shouldn't
Dave,
even
this is
have the
problem.
opportunity,
You're so
Dave.
partisan. You're
It's
not
not
willing
that
to
I'm
even
partisan.
look.
I-
Do you think Matt Gaetz was a good pick?
No.
Well, now
Well,
that
there
he's
you go.
withdrawn, did you say that when he was out? When he
I
was still in?
pretty
No,
much
you
saw.
didn't.
Well, I'm glad you agree on that
Right,
one.
but you didn't
What do you
say
mean
anything.
saw what they were doing?
He was trying to distract. He thinks it's a chess game where they're putting this guy out to distract from the shiny object.
And by the way, I felt the same way. I thought he was a sacrificial lamb. We'll put him out, and he's so obviously not going to get in. And then when he puts another guy in, oh my God, at least he's not as bad as that guy.
What happened when he did that?
What's that?
What happened when he announced his name and he withdrew from Congress and all the other things?
That was the best outcome. Now we have
God.
I am like, thank goodness.
I don't think he wanted him in Congress. I don't think he wanted that guy in
So
Congress.
of the people that are still in there, who do you think should not go through? Who do you, of the people that are still in there, do you think all of them? There's
I
none of
haven't
them
seen,
that you say
the most controversial one lately has been Kash Patel, and I love the guy. I think he's great.
Why?
To run the FBI.
I just think he's got the background to do the job.
He has no background.
He's always been there. He's always been there. He's
as a loyalist for Trump, correct.
I think loyalty is a big factor.
And have you listened to some of the interviews he's had where he talks about going after the media, going after anybody that confronted Trump? I mean, is that what we want with an attorney general? Going after him.
So let me ask you this, Rob.
For head of the FBI.
Investigate.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Yeah.
If somebody commits a crime, should they be subject to the laws?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if there's people out there that committed a crime,
like President Trump, but
you're assuming that because now that
assuming
was
I had 34 felony convictions.
You guys, look, you all fell for that.
I'm just following up on your question.
You don't realize what they wanted to stop Trump in any way they could have.
I mean, political theater,
and they sacrificed everything
that's
precious to us in doing that. They discredited every agency that under the control of the federal government to try to stop Trump. Guess what? You guys failed. Bottom line.
Except the problem. Except the problem.
Those failed. And admit you failed.
Ethan, what were you going to say?
The problem is a jury of his peers found him guilty.
A jury of his peers.
And as much as you want to try to, whether the prosecution was politically motivated or not, and I'm happy to have that debate in the end, just like with Hunter Biden, whether you think it's politically motivated or not, in the end, he was found guilty.
Right.
He admitted to guilt. So you have to accept that. We have to accept that. Joe Biden accepted that all the way through.
Well, Joe Biden couldn't be tried because they felt he was mentally incompetent to go through a trial.
Oh, come on.
His own, what are you talking about?
Well, they just said he's,
No.
And
they said what? What did they say,
No,
Derry?
the guy who wrote that report clarified those comments.
Yeah,
That is not what I meant.
Said
that was misinterpreted.
He basically said he's a little old man.
No, he was no longer, he had resigned his position. He was a citizen. He went in front of a Republican Congress and said,
I think that we all have to do this.
That's correct.
I think we all have to do this. The bottom line, we can sit here and argue all we want. But
Well,
the
the big
bottom line
Yeah.
is that Donald J. Trump is the president of the United States. He's picked his cabinet people.
Yeah.
Like him or not, this is the people you're going to have to deal with. And then when they're all confirmed, and once they don't get confirmed, fine.
We hope they'll do well.
We're going to have a cabinet. It's going to be picked by Trump. He has an agenda, and he wants America first.
Okay.
And if you agree with America first, then you should say, let's give the guy his due, because a lot of people in the United States voted for Donald J. Trump to be the president of the United States.
I think the world should have an equal position to the United States.
Say that again, Derry.
I think the world, when you say, make America first, and I really think that with what's going on in the world, that Americans should also think about the world. I really think.
Amen.
Well, we do. I used to be in the building business, right? When we build a building, what do?
Yeah.
We put it on a good foundation.
Yes.
The foundation in America is unstable right now. Let's stabilize. It's unstable.
Okay.
I
Well
talk
said.
to economists that actually know. I'm not an economist, but I've talked.
This is the strongest economy.
Oh, come on.
The economists left and right, including the Wall Street Journal,
have said 8%. How many deals does it kill?
It kills deals.
Which economy would you replace us with?
I would rather.
Which country's economy would you replace ours with?
Yeah.
Because most economists will say, and I mean this, most conservative economists say our economy is the envy of the world.
Yes, it is.
And I am saying certainly there are problems in our economy because there's a housing crisis, working class people need to get higher wages, healthcare is drowning people, but our economy is the envy of the world.
It's always going to be, but we're suffering. We have 100,000 people here in the state of Maine that cannot pay their electric bill.
Yeah,
100,000 people that today cannot pay their electric bill.
No doubt about it.
Why is energy so expensive?
That's why we should have created a consumer-owned utility.
Well, oh, yeah, that's the dumbest thing you say to the government. So, Ethan, come on. You haven't. What has government ever got right? So you got.
What has government ever got right? What do you mean?
We're going to
roads,
the post office,
Obamacare,
the borders,
post office. Sure. And you want to look at? I mean, we could go down the line. Social Security, Medicare. I mean, these are like.
You guys
Are you on Social
I
Security?
like the Social
You must be.
Security.
David's
Right?
more of a
Are you saying
libertarian than a
Social Security
Republican.
is-
Yeah.
I don't want anything from anybody. Okay, I want to work for what I have.
Well, you don't
And I
have
think
to, 'cause
every
you're the
man-
most-
every
you're getting
American
Social
has it.
Security, aren't you?
I
Yeah.
paid
I
for
wanna
it,
ask
I
this
might as
question
well,
before
right?
we
If you
go.
live more than 10 more years, you're going to be getting more out than you gave in. So you're going to
I
stop
don't know
taking
if
it?
that's true or not.
Hey, guys,
course it
can I
is.
interrupt with one? 'Cause
Go ahead.
I really want to get this one out.
Yeah, this is the Rundlett and Baldacci report.
This is the
We
big
thought it was
one.
the Dave and Ethan show.
I know,
We're
but
gonna
that's
let
good.
go of
This
it.
is
We're
good.
gonna-
I love it though. I want to know personally Biden's decision to pardon his son. I'm going to take my position first, which is, first of all, you wouldn't have told them, guess what, I'm going to pardon my son, because then they would have, everything would have changed. So you don't warn everybody you're going to pardon your son, but when you get straight down to it, and you think your son might go to one freaking day in jail, and you happen to be the president of the United States, and the crimes for which he committed were not violence, whatever,
No.
they're not good. They weren't good, I'm not saying they were.
Right.
And so, is there anybody who disagrees with me that I think he's doing the absolute right thing to pardon his son?
I agree with you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Ethan?
Here's what I'd say. I'm not a father. I'm probably the only person in here who's not a father. And I understand fundamentally why he was going to do what he did. Had I been an advisor to him, I would have said, you have to find a way to not do it. I hear you. I understand it.
He could have commuted his
Let me
sentence.
finish my sentence, right? He could have found a way, I think. The best way for this to have happened would have been for Donald Trump to do it, for the next administration to come in and say, you know what, for Trump to have a conversation with Biden to say, I'm going to take care of this for you because I understand the pain of a father. And likewise,
agree with that. I
and
like that.
likewise,
I know, that would have been-
I
that would have
said-
gone a
That was
long way.
discussed. I know that was
I'm sure it
discussed.
must have been. And likewise, I would have said to Biden, you know what you ought to do?
Yeah.
You ought to step in and look, the January 6th rioters who did not commit violence against cops,
Right.
who weren't part of the Proud Boys, you ought to pardon them to help our country
Well
heal.
said,
You know, say,
Ethan.
look,
Yeah.
you do that, Trump does that, that's the better way to go. But
Yes.
the problem with the way Biden did it is he attacked the Justice Department.
Right.
And he shouldn't have
Yes.
done that. That created an opening for Trump to now feed what Trump
Yeah.
believes
Well
and what
said.
he's going to be doing. So if he had to do it, he should have simply said, he's my son, and I'm doing it for that reason. He's
End
my
of story.
son. And any father
Well
in this
put.
country will understand he was found guilty. He's apologized for his behavior. I'm going to do it.
David,
he
you
shouldn't
agree?
have attacked the Justice
Well,
Department.
Well said.
Okay, as far
Well
as
said, yeah.
pardoning, I think he could have commuted his sentence instead of pardoning.
Instead of pardoning, I
But
agree.
what he's done now, he's done such a broad-based pardon that
Yeah.
there's all kinds of conversation and doubt. Like, well, what don't we know? So that he's created a doubt.
It
this
was,
air of
it was
uncertainty.
broad-based, one of the most broad-based
It was
pardons.
more broad-based than President Nixon's, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, so here you got this pardon that just 11 years of whatever, right? Do whatever, it's all done. It doesn't matter. Now, so now the American public has doubt about him and his family and his involvement with Ukraine, and why is he giving money to Ukraine, and why is Ukraine getting all these arms, and so there's too many whys now. I think it was a very unwise decision for him to pardon him. He could have waited till he was sentenced, and he could have commuted his sentence, and then that would have been it. But now I think it opened up, and I'm not a lawyer, and you are, maybe you can answer the question. So now that he has pardoned him for everything under the sun, if Congress calls him in for congressional hearings, can he claim the fifth?
Well, depends on what they're
The fifth
asking.
is
You
you have
always can.
self-incriminate.
It depends on what they're
you
asking him
can't.
about.
If it doesn't matter, because it doesn't even now, even if he did incriminate himself, then he couldn't be held accountable for it. So it doesn't matter. So could he claim the fifth? And would he be able to say, I claim the fifth? Or would he have to answer it or be under
Or in other words,
held under
even if they call him and say, did you commit tax evasion and intend to do it?
or did your father participate in this? Did your uncle
in other words, investigate.
participate in
Well,
this?
remember,
Right?
I don't.
That's the opening
That's an
into
interesting
That's
first-year
an
law
interesting
school
question.
question, I suppose. But remember, he's only commuted for federal crimes. So obviously, if there's anything that's state level, it's still there. And I'll have to look at this. I have not.
Good point, Ethan.
The pardon of Nixon was for everything. So
is this.
I don't think that this is. I mean, his was in a time frame of 10 years. So that's what he's been 11 years. So I don't think it's broader than Nixon's, what you said. But I'll have to look that up to confirm it.
He could have gone to birth. He could have gone since his birth.
Yeah.
Right. Which Nixon was for anything that he had done. But anyway, regardless, could he have commuted? Sure, he could have done all of those kind of things.
I just think he created an air of uncertainty in the American public.
I don't think he created. Look, people have already looked into the Ukraine stuff. It's just not existent. It's been a conspiracy theory for decades. And so anybody who still thinks that that's real was going to think that no matter what. Now, I do think that he should not have gone after it to say this was politically motivated.
I agree with
it
that.
went to trial.
Now that I think about
he
it.
was found guilty. All of that, just like
Drive the
Donald
wedge
Trump.
deeper.
And that was not a good idea on his part. And I
Now,
wish he had just said, "I'm
he's my
father,
son, and
he's
I'm
my
Biden."
son."
I get the son part.
Right, all of it.
I think that would have gone a long
Donald
way.
Trump has pardoned family members.
Oh, sure.
It's not a new thing. Now, Donald Trump pardoned people who commit crimes on his behalf. That, to me, is a much bigger problem in the end
I agree.
than this, right? You get this because it's a father.
Roger Stone.
When people, Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, all these
You
people.
guys are so hung up on the past. Though. Look to the future.
No.
Right now,
I
this
agree.
is the
Look.
golden era of America. It's the
I'd love
rebirth
to
of
see
America
that.
All right,
with
baby.
all new
Hey,
people
David, I
involved.
hope to God you're right.
Right, yeah, Rob and I do. We do. Rob and I, we'd love to see it.
I'm on air.
Look, I wore my Abraham Lincoln socks. The
that's
only
good.
great Republican president ever.
Well, I don't know.
Well,
we got
Teddy Roosevelt wasn't
Ronald
too bad.
Reagan.
It wasn't too bad.
Donald
He shook
Trump.
it.
Ethan, I'm glad you showed those. That the camera picked those up. I want to see those again. Look at these, are beautiful.
Abraham.
And look what I got.
I'm sure your ankles aren't going to burn with a Republican.
A clown. No, these are,
This is
I
the
don't
kind
even
of
know what these
Republican I believe in.
Those are beautiful.
It's been 180
Well,
years since we had a Republican.
What?
60 years since we had a Republican like that.
I don't know if any of you watched the Reagan movie.
I tried to get it on TV
Yeah, you gotta pay for it.
yesterday,
It's worth
and
the
I'm
money.
going to watch it.
Yeah, just pay for it.
It's
But
good, right?
It's great. It's really great. And if you watch that movie and you study what's being said and how Reagan did things, you're going to see a lot of parallels between him and Donald J. Trump. I guarantee it.
Well, there's some.
A lot.
So Dennis Quaid did a good job.
They
Did a
both,
good
they
job.
both
was
commit
amazing.
crimes against America and almost got impeached and thrown out of office. So we'll give them both that.
Look, if you want
They
to find
undermined
some-
unions.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
we had a great era. Things were good. When
Iran
Trump was
Contra.
president, but now we're. Yeah, I know. Okay.
SNL
See, this
crisis.
is-
We have lots of-
Reagan was a
lots of
nice
great
man.
things.
But I believe we're on the dawn. I really believe where
hope
we
so.
are right
I
now.
hope so.
I'm enthusiastic. I got up that next day and I was not sleeping very much because we were at the Regency. We had our victory party that night and everybody was invited, but I didn't see many
didn't get an
Democrats.
invite. I didn't
Oh, you
get an
didn't get
invite.
one? I'm
No,
sorry. I
I
should have
didn't.
done.
He invited me, and I said, no, I don't want to
You
waste
didn't go.
No, that's fine.
But it was a victory party, and we won. And I was up till like 4 in the morning. I watched Trump do his acceptance speech and everything. And then I went to bed. And I had to go do the show at Ray at 5:30. So I
Okay.
slept for an hour and a half. And I got up and I was dragging.
Adrenaline rush,
And
though.
I was driving to the studio, and I thought, wow, this is great. We really did win.
Yeah.
America did get behind Donald J. Trump. And this is a new dawn. I felt that in my heart, and when I felt this enthusiasm like I haven't felt in a very long time.
And how did you react to the fact that Harris and Biden and the Democrats respected the peaceful transfer of power?
Yeah.
And
What was shocking for me was she left all those people standing there all night long and never came out to.
Well, and then
address
she said, and we're going to continue to
She came
fight.
out-
And
look
that's
at
what
this,
Trump
Dave.
got.
You
got
can't,
this wrong.
look, Dave, you can't even
I
acknowledge
know.
anything positive about the.
No.
We have been sitting here saying we hope is right. He just asked you a very poignant question,
Yeah.
which was
Hey, look.
a real difference, right?
Well, because
What
I know the
Democrats-
background, I know what he's trying to get at.
No, no, no.
But why can't you be critical of your own party?
I know you well enough, Rob. Okay.
Yeah.
So the
Why
bottom line.
can't you be critical of your own party to
am
say
glad to see that
our
they,
party did not allow a peaceful transfer
See,
of
that's
power?
why
in the US?
Exactly.
You're
Why
opening the
can't you
door.
be?
That's what you did.
Yes.
It happened. It was not planned. Trump had nothing to do with it. He's been fully exonerated for it. So, I hate it when everybody brings it up because it's
Well,
just
what do you
not
mean
true.
he's not
He
planned?
had a
Exonerated
rally
where?
everywhere, just not in the public eye because of the media. Media plays
Not in a
media
court of
plays
law,
a big
he
role in
hasn't.
our country today.
That's
too big a role.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
All right?
Social media.
And the social media thing. When we grew up, we didn't have that.
No.
We didn't have the kids staring at their phones with their necks crooked all day long, looking at these stupid things. And I try and get away from it as much as I can. But
Me too.
that's our society today.
Yes.
You walk down the street and they're all,
Everybody.
everyone.
Anywhere. Anywhere.
It's not the way to live.
Airports, anywhere.
So our lives they're all controlled by media, and
Yes.
so they get these little TikToks and they
Instagrams.
read them and they follow them and that, they believe that's
Face
the
chat
world.
and all that stuff.
Yeah, and so they don't really know. They're only being fed what they're being fed.
So how do we
I
deal
think
with that?
Dave,
I think we
Dave,
have
it's
to. I
not-
don't know.
Dave,
I mean, because
it's
you
not
can't
they.
censor it.
What
It's
is
you
freedom of
too,
speech.
Dave. You're part of the media
Australia.
and the same thing,
No-
right?
no- none for
This
kids.
is,
That was
This to
good.
me is such a good example. He just asked you the easiest question to answer. And you wouldn't, I mean,
You can't
even,
get off of that one.
even
I'm on
Donald
that
Trump.
page.
It took her
I can't-
24 hours before
Right.
she.
Donald Trump
How
said,
close the election was.
Even Donald Trump said, I want to thank
what were
Joe
you
Biden
watching?
for the peaceful transfer of power.
Yeah.
Even your guy, Donald Trump, and you couldn't do it.
No, that's okay.
That's what you've got to look at. Right? That's how
Exactly.
I'm
divided
glad
we
to
are.
see
right?
they were able to sit down. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall. I think it would have been really interesting to listen to the conversation and find out if Biden actually did vote for Trump. You know, I'll tell
What?
you. There's been all kinds of. He did not want her to win. I wholeheartedly believe that.
I don't know.
You mean you
believe
think
it.
that when he went into the booth, he voted for Trump?
No.
Yeah.
Jesus God.
Oh, my goodness.
What are we talking about
That's
here?
good, though.
That
You're
is the
starting to
strangest
undermine your
thing.
credibility by the
Jesus.
minute. here.
Okay. All right. Anyway.
Look, I undermine my credibility on it. You know, it's strange that we had.
Anything good you can say about Democrats? We're just looking.
Yeah, well, look at the one thing.
Positive
I
you can
love
say.
Rob. He's a great guy.
I'm not talking about
we're not
Rob.
talking about
Rob's a
me.
great
Right,
guy.
but
We're talking about Democrats.
I think the Democrat Party has to really think about how far they overstep their boundaries. All right, these social issues are very divisive. It's ridiculous. All right, you know, it's
So
really
how
a
did we
problem.
maintain
and we
control
have
of
to
the state of Maine?
keep everything in perspective.
So how did
right?
almost every Democratic member of Congress get reelected?
almost
how
only
did-
counts in horseshoes and hand grenades?
No, but when 95% of your people get reelected, that's
I
telling
think
you that
America-
you probably have a good message for
any-
most of the people that
Ethan,
reelected you.
Anybody I know that's got any level of intelligence doesn't care what somebody is or how they conduct their life, but they just don't want to be force-fed. And I think that was the problem, is that, you know, the Democrats are beating that drum, instead of beating the drum about expensive energy, you know, expensive food, expensive interest rates. You know,
And that brings me to a question, David.
Go ahead.
And this is very, very important to me personally. I have many, many friends who have gay children, transgender children.
Sure.
I have many friends who are gay, transgender.
Yeah. As do I.
Yeah, we all do. If you live in the state of Maine,
Live in America. I mean, that's right.
Thank you.
Right.
And my question is that DeSantis was all over that issue like a cheap suit. For some reason, he thought that was the most important thing. They go after the gays, the transgenders, who's wearing.
I don't think he's going after him. He just
Come on. That's why Disney sued him.
Yeah.
And so the question I have is, do you have any idea, knowing that Donald Trump has got bigger fish to fry, do you know where he's going to go with this gay, transgender, LGBTQ
I think
issue?
all he cares about is making America great again, buddy.
Well, what does that
That's
mean?
it.
But what does that mean with respect to that issue?
I think America's pretty great as it is.
I think there's some real serious.
Well, there are some
problems,
issues,
right?
but yeah.
When people, 100,000 people just in the state of Maine can't pay their electric bill, or people can't afford to put gas in their car,
those are
or heating
serious
oil to
issues.
their
I
house.
agree.
David, to be
But it's a
specific,
social issue.
when you
Right.
were at his policy meetings out
Right.
there at his convention.
Well, Milwaukee.
I was there. I was on the platform committee.
Platform committee was one of the platforms, as it has been in the Republican legislature here. We got to do something about this LGBTQ and teaching the kids and go.
Never even mentioned.
Thank you.
True.
That's all I
In the
needed to
Republican
know.
platform, it's against gay marriage.
Read the
Yeah.
platform.
I have.
Okay.
Yeah. So
right.
Cited it.
Go ahead.
Okay, now understand this, okay? I don't care. if
Marriage
two
is
people-
between a man and a woman.
Right.
I think
Right,
that's
so
almost
it's in the-
going back.
that's
Is
not a
that
direct
correct?
quote. It is a
Yeah,
direct quote.
yeah, it is.
It's been ruled
That's a
on
quote.
already everywhere.
But
Anti-abortion, let's get in a woman's body.
no,
Again,
you're
a man and
reading
a
into
woman.
this. You're reading into
No,
No, you're
of
wrong.
course.
All right, look, Republicans that believe in marriage as a religious ceremony. Marriage was a religious ceremony, right? In church, right? You're Catholic. I'm Catholic. I don't
It's
know
actually a civil
what are you?
ceremony.
But not
No, no.
necessarily.
It's a civil ceremony.
Jewish.
Okay.
Because it's a civil ceremony too.
Right.
I mean,
I think what the Christian coalition. I met
But there
with
are
Tony.
people that don't
Tony
believe in
Perkins,
God
the
that
head
get
of
married.
all the Christian coalition. And they just believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, and that if somebody wants to have a civil union, they get the same rights underneath the marriage. Why do they have to call it a marriage?
That's because the Old Testament
They've
said
never
it.
supported that. Number
Not the
one.
New
Number
Testament.
two, even if they did support that, that would mean you are supporting a second-class citizenship. So
Yes.
everybody
Why is
should
it
have
second class.
Because it's
all a
what's
civil
the name?
ceremony.
What's
It's all
in
a
the
civil
name?
ceremony.
Well, no, you're calling marriage a civil ceremony, and it's not actually a civil
It's
ceremony.
about the rights that you get.
It most certainly is.
If you
I mean,
are
I
married,
perform
you get Social
merit,
Security.
yeah.
If you're not married, you don't. And I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
when a platform says
Well, I'm just
marriage
trying to
is between-
explain to you what they're talking about. You want to hear it or not?
Well, what I wanted to hear was that they're not going after the
They're
LGBT.
not.
And
You're
well,
trying-
That's,
That
I don't,
made
I
me
don't
feel-
think that's true. I don't think that's
We'll
true.
see.
The,
I'll tell you right now.
He's already made Trump has already made comments about the military and stopping the funding of
Sex
support
change
for
operations in the military.
Correct.
So
And-
you think taxpayer-funded sex change operations? So how many people
No.
are joining
Here we
just
go.
to get that?
See, here we go. See,
Yeah.
you want to say that Republicans
The fact that
aren't
he
gonna care
calls
about
them
these
out.
issues? Look,
It's
Donald
the fact
Trump,
that he calls them out.
And-
It's the fact that he says, or DeSantis, whoever it is, says, I consider transgender, and not to be a good thing, and the gays and and the drag shows. That is what is of concern to those of us who have gay or transgender children.
I have plenty of gay
Or
friends.
those of
I
us-
have a friend's transgender too. I mean,
And how does that
they say-
person feel?
They say to me that they think it's ridiculous how this stuff is, put out there as or being paraded. They don't like it being paraded. They figure that they're private people. They decided that
Being
one man
paraded?
decided.
Wait a
being
minute, wait a
paraded.
minute.
You got 30 days as what's for
Pride Month?
Gay Pride Month.
Your LGBTQ friends say they don't like Pride Month?
They've-
You need to bring them in here because I would love to have a
Yeah.
conversation about that. There may be like two people who think that we shouldn't have
maybe
Pride Month.
I find that one hard to believe.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I'm telling you,
Most
my niece
people
is
recognize.
gay,
It's like
right?
saying that African Americans
She
don't like Black
doesn't
History
wanna-
Month.
I got a question.
It out
I got a
there.
question for Ethan.
And by the way, just a real quick answer, Derry's question. What Trump is going to do, he's going to repeal the executive orders that Biden put in place protecting transgender rights.
Okay.
That's what he's going to do, right?
Okay.
You're asking,
It's by
is he going to do
executive
anything? You're saying nothing. That is, I will guarantee that will happen within a month. Because they're the ones that made these issues othering people.
Exactly.
Right? Kamala Harris didn't run a single ad about transgender folks.
Right.
Not a single one.
No.
But the Republicans did.
Yes,
so let's
they
be
did.
very clear who's making what issues. Now, did she support transgender rights? Absolutely, as she should. Because we need to respect everybody.
Well,
in
why
this country.
shouldn't you support
But
their rights? They're
you
human
should
beings
support
just
their
like
rights.
us.
Exactly.
They're
Donald
taxpaying
Trump
citizens
ran.
just like us.
Donald Trump ran ads saying you should not support their rights, and that she is making them bigger than it is. So let's be clear about who made this. It's the
agree.
same. They blame Democrats. But these were not issues that Democrats ran on. Democrats ran on the economy, ran on what we had done. I
That's
don't
right.
think we
It was
Wait,
not-
well,
not in the-
I never heard a single message about the economy from
What?
the Democrats.
Well, then
Tell
you
me
weren't
one.
watching
She was
TV.
the
What did
only
I
one
miss?
that had actual
What did I miss? We asked
specific.
questions. All I got was I grew up in a middle-class home with a nice lawn.
No.
All right?
Dave, I think you're minimizing. And
I'm
you're-
not minimizing.
Yeah, you
I
are.
wanted to hear what she had to say.
She
Why do you
talked
think so many
about
people didn't listen to
affordable
us?
housing. She talked about tax cuts.
She's going to
for the
build
middle
3 million
class.
homes
What's that?
She's going to build 3 million houses.
Yeah.
She had programs that were trying to help small businesses.
She actually
get
had
around.
tangible
Again, guys
ideas.
Loan
believe the
forgiveness?
government's the answer. It's not the answer. If it's right, the private enterprise will get behind it. If it pays, if it pays.
Well,
and
there are
it
some
yields,
things that
then, like what?
reque action that
Like
you
what?
don't
and
expect
I
to have a
always had that
profit from.
blog.
What?
Because I ask you, what? What is it that government can do that private enterprise
That's a
can't
whole
do
other
for
show.
less?
Are you serious?
Plow
Food safety,
roads, plow roads, pick up the
whole other
trash,
show.
police
Yeah.
officers,
managing our
regulate
airspace.
Massachusetts, they
Regulate
use
airlines.
private contractors to plow the roads.
To the extent, even
through
Maine
government
does
regulation,
sometimes.
not
Sure.
private. They don't pay. The government pays them.
Oh, what was
so
that
they're
word?
required.
What was that word?
Through government regulation.
Regulation. Oh, that's it. So everything is a regulation, right? So we're going to regulate every damn thing
Dave,
that
do
you
you
and
want
I
to have
say
a
or do.
conversation about what you asked about, or do you want to just keep talking about nothing? Because the issue simply is, you asked, what does the government do, right?
What
the
does it
government,
do?
well, it educates our kids. It provides health care to
Maine's
people.
49th
It
in the
makes
country.
sure
Go
that people
ahead.
don't get paid less than $15 an hour in the state of Maine. It makes sure that employers actually pay. It makes sure our vegetables are clean. It makes sure when we fly over the country, we don't
We're not
slam
going
into
it's-
another airplane. Those are all the things. I mean, every day. Dave, you can't get
Well, no,
through
you-
your life.
the
Hang on.
only thing I'll get you right
You
now-
cannot get up in the morning for an hour and not have
No,
been somehow
you're
or another
you're dead wrong.
influenced by the
It's
government
crazy.
helping you get up. I mean, you can't get up without the government.
All right, Ethan.
Oh, and that's
My
right.
goodness.
That's my point. That's my point.
And it's
I
the
don't want
strongest
government in my life.
economy
I
in
believe
the
the air
world.
traffic controllers. I think, hey, great, I understand.
Yeah.
We need that. Okay, there's
How about
Okay,
fresh
what
vegetables?
are
How
you
about
doing?
clean
Good.
vegetables?
why do we have
How about
why do
clean
we have to
vegetables?
buy so much produce from overseas? Why can't we grow it here
I
in
just
the
asked
United
you,
States
how
of
about
America?
how about clean vegetables? You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about the fact that when
Do you
you,
think-
how about this?
Safe
When you go
meats.
to buy something at a super,
So we need the government to tell
When
us
you
the
go to
the
buy
vegetables are
something
clean, right?
At a car
Are you out of your
dealership-
gourd?
Let him. Oh, wait a minute. Time out.
When you go
Ethan,
to buy a
go
car
ahead.
at a car dealership, do you think that car dealership should be allowed to lie to you about the car?
Yeah.
Or do you think that there should be some consumer protection in place that says, if they lie to you about that car, you actually could
Do something
bring the
about
car
it.
back? Do you think that they should be required to make a car that doesn't blow up when you get out of the driveway? Or should they just say, no, you can make whatever car you want?
This is a discussion.
This is how the
for a
government
whole
works.
other show, and I think it's great.
And
It's great.
I think your
I mean, that's what it
examples.
boils down to. You've got a president.
Somebody's
now
got to
that
drive the
believes-
school buses,
No,
brother. Somebody's got to pick up the trash.
You got
That's
a
right.
president
Somebody's
gotta drive the
now.
school bus.
You
Yeah.
guys have a president now that's going to change the way things are done.
Yes,
all
that's what we're worried about.
And
Yeah.
it's going to be for the better. That's
exactly
It's
right.
going to be for the
Well,
better.
we hope so,
All right?
David.
We hope so.
And it's,
You know,
just
we're all
got-
Americans
You're sitting
here.
there and you're like throwing out all these divisive issues, which is that's the problem.
right, cars blowing up.
No, we through the
Clean
transgender,
vegetables?
the LGBTQ thing. Come on, that is an issue.
It's in your platform.
Abortion,
Yeah.
right?
Abortion's
But
in your platform. Gay marriage is in your platform.
Read
right?
what this
These
says
are
about
issues.
the abortion in the platform.
I did.
It says they don't want late term. That's it.
No, actually,
Late term.
The national abortion,
Yeah.
the National Republican
That's
platform.
correct.
No, that is
Yes.
not correct. They believe in the sanctity of life.
They believe
Do you
in
remember
the
that line?
Yeah, absolutely. They believe in the sanctity.
What does that mean?
And they also took.
Well, Trump has already said he
Conception.
wants to go state rights on that.
That's right, and that's the
That's
way
a-
it should
And
be.
I agree on some of the things that
Yeah.
should be state rights.
Yeah. And
But
do you agree on
abortion-
Not
that?
abortion.
Well, in terms of abortion, that's an issue I can't even discuss.
It's a tough one. I know.
Right.
That's the issue.
That is
You know,
so
here's what I
just
think.
so hard.
If we could just stop with all these divisive issues, like abortion.
It's easy for
like
you to say. I think it's
right?
the Republican side that has
No,
that is
let me
taking
finish.
these
Let me
issues,
finish, Rob.
immigrants eating
Yeah.
cats and dogs, on and on and on. Come on, David. That's not from the
This is
Democratic
point.
Party.
Right. This
All
is
right.
Republicans.
So, look.
Go ahead,
What
but
do
you go
is
ahead.
You bait the public. You bait them.
Is that what you're doing?
Donald Trump
It's
said
what
it.
you guys do it.
He said it.
All right?
I don't think so.
You come up with I heard about it. I watched it. I was like, oh, okay.
I hope you at least said to that. I wish he hadn't said that.
Yeah.
I know you're not willing to ever criticize Donald Trump, but I would hope at that moment you were like,
They're eating the cats and dogs. I remember.
Yeah,
But see, that's what you focus on.
And the goldfish.
I will agree with Dave
Don't
on
forget
that.
the parakeets.
Focusing on those things did not help. I will
Rewind
agree
for a
with you on
minute.
that.
Rewind for a minute.
All right, go ahead.
Because this is where I was going before with the media. The media is irresponsible. All right, and
I agree with that.
They do not. They do
Does
not.
that include your radio station?
No, we're responsible.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's what they all
But see,
say.
what we say is we are opinion. All right, this is our opinion.
Well,
okay.
And the same as this show. This is ours
First
opinion.
Amendment.
Yeah, that's right.
But you
freedom
run
of speech.
Fox News
All right?
broadcasts on there, so
Yeah.
it's not just opinion.
It's a Fox station. All right, so
Good point.
I mean, it is just opinion, but you claim it's not opinion. You claim it's news.
Okay,
I
let
know
me
it.
finish, Ethan.
Okay.
All right.
My niece calls them
we're
facts.
We're talking about faux news. I heard the faux news, right? Is what they say instead of Fox faux. But the media has a responsibility, and you look at the journalists and the people that call themselves journalists. I don't believe we have very many left. There, I remember the Huntley Brinkley
sounds
report. I
more.
remember Walter Cronkite. I remember Tim
Russett.
I mean, I never knew their politics. Did you? They never said it. They didn't talk about it.
Right.
They
That's true.
reported the news. Now,
What's David Muir's
Let me
politics?
finish.
What's David Muir's politics? No,
let me finish.
Let's not.
The
I wanna
bottom
answer that
line here is
question. What's his politics?
Who?
David Muir.
He,
Do you know his politics?
no.
He's a
what he
very
did,
good
What
anchor.
David Muir did. I met David in Cleveland. I talked to David for a while, and I was really disappointed at what he did. What
do you mean?
Debate with Trump, how he was fact checking him and not fact checking her. All right, so that was really, it was an obvious thing. It was obvious, and it turned out that
Well, it was
things that Trump
egregious what he was saying
Hold on.
during the debate.
No, it turned
You can't
out he
let
was
something
telling
like
the
that
truth.
go.
You go back and read it. Read it again, okay, instead of
okay.
watch, MSNBC or CNN, right? But the media has a responsibility, and we have to make sure that we hold them accountable because they're telling people lies.
Like
as
what?
far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to get into instances.
But you keep
I
saying
think
this thing about the
overall,
media. And
they,
you have to give us some examples.
Ethan, you know it. I know it.
No.
You
But
you
tell
can
us
sit
what.
there and you can watch.
I agree with
Give-
you. The
give an
media has a
example, David.
responsibility,
Do you
right?
not believe that the American people are intelligent enough to make up their own mind?
Of course.
I hope so.
So
And they
why
have
are
to
they
have the
making
facts.
their
Well-
minds up for them? Why are they? If a company
I'm
buys
asking
a
you
huge
for an
block,
example. That's all I'm asking, is for an example.
If one company owns 50 TV stations, all 50 TV stations have a script, and they all say the same exact thing.
Yeah, that's
right?
Sinclair, right? Sinclair does that. A
Right.
conservative, right-wing
No,
ownership.
It's not just Sinclair. It's
Well,
all of
Sinclair
them,
is an
okay?
example. So
Are
if
you
I'm gonna
saying
call
Of course
them
you
out-
want to use that one.
David, you're saying NBC News and CBS
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
everybody has to say.
There's clips. You can
I don't-
go on.
I don't-
You can
I
look
don't-
online.
I'd like to see
Don't
the.
believe me. Go online and check it out.
Go on, that's
We
the
shouldn't-
problem.
We shouldn't believe what we see online.
Yeah, exactly.
These are clips from just different stations, all affiliated, saying the same
thing.
Look, the media
And
has
the
a
newscasting-
responsibility.
Mind. Why not? Look, this car crashed into that car on Lincoln Road at 10 o'clock. All right, good. That's the news. Not, well, this guy was drunk and this guy was.
Well, we want to know that.
They want to. They sensationalize
why-
everything.
Well,
Certainly the media sensationalizes
It
stuff.
does
but
everything.
The media's job is to put sunlight on what we can't see, right? That's a significant part of their work.
Well said.
They need to report what just happens, but they need to investigate, they need to understand, and both parties have to recognize that it's okay for them to be critical. And we can't just demean them because they've found something out about what we
minutes
did,
left.
right? Let's take Pete Hegseth, who's been nominated. Right now, a report has come out. It was documented about his background. Now, we can either say to ourselves, oh, it's just bias, or we could look at those documents and say to ourselves, those are actual real documents. That's a real report. Those organizations went under. He did actually pay off a woman, and we can not demonize the
admitted
media.
that he did.
Right, exactly. And the media exposed that. That's their role. That's what they should do. We have to
Correct.
be okay with them being critical. Should they lie? Of course not. Nobody ever says they should. But should they be reporting and showing light, shining light, and investigating?
I hope
of
so.
course. They shouldn't just be saying, oh, all we're going to tell you today is there was a car crash. If you know why there was a car crash,
Right.
you should explain it.
Yeah, I agree with
if
that.
the red light didn't turn red, you should explain it. Another thing the government does, make sure you don't crash at intersections.
And make sure that planes are not crashing in the air. Gentlemen, believe it or not, our hour is up.
Oh.
Well, no, it's close.
It's,
we got a couple
it's
of
close, yeah, and as I say, that's why I'm doing it now, is I want
Good.
each of you, I'll let you go first, David, of what your hope is for the future of this country in about 30 seconds.
And the same with Ethan.
Very simple. You know, the election's over. It's behind us. We have an opportunity to be one. I want America to unite on both sides of the fence. I want the Ronald Reagan, Tip O'Neill type relationships going on with Republicans and Democrats. I hope that we're working towards prosperity. We're hoping to make energy affordable. We're working towards, real problems instead of getting us divided and just saying and lighting the fire with stupid issues that really they matter, but when it comes right down to it, if you can't pay your bills, it doesn't matter. You've got to be able to afford to live, and it's so expensive to live today. The dollar isn't worth what it was. I mean, we're paying people $50 an hour. We're making $15 an hour, and we're getting the same work. It's just because the dollar's not worth anything anymore. A gallon of milk is $7, $8. A loaf of bread. I mean, so everything's really expensive. So I hope we get it to a point where we're working together. We figure out a way where we are able to afford to live in our country. We get rid of this inflation. I think the people that Trump has picked are all really smart people. Obviously, he's not going to pick idiots, but you may not like them, but give them a chance.
Okay.
They might surprise you.
All right.
Ethan, your turn.
We already get rid of inflation, so you got that one solved. The Democrats did that for you. but-
What planet are you on?
All right,
Ethan's
Ethan.
on the
Inflation was
platform.
2.5%. Anyway, look, my hope for Donald Trump is that I hope that in the way that Dave's talking, that he
has a different administration this time, that he is more magnanimous, that he does more in terms of trying to reach out. He does not engage in retribution as people are fearful. I hope that he really just begins to say, you know what, it is time. I've got one term, I'm lame duck, I'm out. I'm just going to try to bring us together. I don't have to worry about re-election. That's my hope. I'm fearful, but that's my hope. I do hope that Democrats are vigilant. I hope they reach across the aisle when they can. I hope they see if there are policies they can work on. But I hope that they're very vigilant, sticking to the values of making sure that people in this country have a better quality of life, and that we don't other people, we don't discriminate against folks, and that they fight for working class people the way they should. The one issue that I hope we deal with more than any other is the economic divide. That will destroy our country. People gain more wealth. Tiny percent of people have more wealth in our country than ever in our history. That's crushing us. I hope that gets lessened in the next 4 years.
And my comment to both of you is this.
Said.
You have made me laugh more than I've ever laughed on any show. You have been going at it with great eloquence, and you both closed.
And respect each other, too.
With the best, both of you gave a closing that I would have written for each of you.
Yeah.
For you to say, we won, let's hope we win, and you to say, let's hope. Because that's what this country has now. Folks, as I close this show, the next time you see Rob and I, it will be January 2025. There'll be a new president in office. Everything is going to see what's going to happen. But we promise you one thing from this show. That number one, we'll continue to enjoy ourselves, and we'll continue to bring in the big issues on this show, as well as the big superstars like we've had today, David Jones and Ethan Strimling. We'll see you in 2025.
Amen. Good job. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys.